welcome back. I might just add an intro or something because I'm just finna get straight into these videos. Last video talked about escapism. This is a follow-up video. So if you haven't seen the first one, you can still get something from this, but it would be easier if you just go watch the last video. But anyways, I'm gonna give you a quick recap. In the last video, first I talked about separation, why separation is good, why you need to separate, because if you don't separate, you will compromise, and compromise is important because when you compromise, you make a decision. That decision will affect everybody. That was the main crux of what I was saying. I brought up the example of Achan, then I brought up the example of Adam and Eve, and also in the last video, I talked about how your heart is soil, and how every time you do anything, a seed is planted in your heart, and you know what type of seed got planted is based off of your actions or your works, and your works should reflect scripture. That's how you know they are works of the spirit. If not, they're going to be works of the flesh, and it's very easy to see, but that's pretty basic. Like I said, go watch the last video. I'm not going to go super deep into it. Plus, I think this is milk. This ain't no milk channel anyway. I also talked about anxiety and escapism and how anxiety leads to escapism. So anxiety is just the fear of the unknown. So if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know where your actions lead to, you're going to live in a constant state of anxiety. And that's where you see the world is. Most people are very scared of the unknown. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what they should do. They don't know what to rely on. So they're in constant state of panic. So instead of just constantly being anxious, which will lead to fear, will lead you to depression, all you'll do instead is escape. And I'm going to try to give you some examples of those because I barely hit them, but just in case it's not clear to you, I'm going to give you some right now. So if you looked at, I'm going to do entertainment. So entertainment, why is entertainment so prevalent? What's the point of it? How does that lead into escapism? So instead of just being anxious and not knowing what to do, that's going to lead you to do something to make you feel good so that you don't have to think about what you're constantly escaping from or your anxiety. So instead of dealing with your anxiety and the cause of the anxiety, you'll just put a Band-Aid on it, using your fleshy feelings to go do something to make you feel good, right? Now, that comes in the form of entertainment. So you can use social media, you can use basketball games, you can use games in general, you can use, what else can you use? You can use drugs. Drugs technically ain't entertainment, but I guess they could be considered entertainment, especially like weed or something like that's recreational. You're just doing it for fun. You could use alcohol. You could use any of these things. The bottom line is you're using these things, you're using these forms of entertainment to escape from the truth. Now, when you practice doing that over a specific time, you are building up a snowball of what you're running away from. So when that thing, let's say your form of escapism doesn't work anymore, now you have this giant snowball of truth that's about to hit you. So then you'll try to go run to something, and you have to find something that's stronger than what you were just using, because what you were just using doesn't work anymore. So that sounds exactly like what happens when people go on drugs. They go on drugs and then their drugs no longer work anymore. So they got to go to something stronger so that they can escape from reality. And that's what you're doing when you go to entertainment. It's just entertainment is a form of a drug that is looked to as if it's not a drug. It's more accepted. You don't look like a bad person because I'm just playing video games, or I'm just watching TV, or I'm just doing this, when the baseline to all of it is it's all the exact same thing. You just might not have like physical, well, no, because sometimes you do have physical consequences where you sit around and watch TV too much, your body is going to be messed up. And then you're going to be like, oh, I feel like this. I'll use another thing. Let's say chronic illnesses. And this is a big one because there's so many new chronic illnesses that are out right now. And that is due to the choices of society, the choices that we've decided to make over a long period of time. Is we keep running away from the truth. So we find a cure that just puts a band-aid on the bigger issue so that we don't have to go back to what is actually true and what's actually pure. So the doctor or medical industry, and I'm not saying everybody in here they have bad intentions, but good intentions always lead to chaos anyway. So this is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. There is a way that appears to be upright to humans, but its ends come into the depths of Hades, because your heart is evil. So I'm gonna get that out the way. I'm not saying your doctor is a bad person. I'm just saying the things that are done, what we're doing in general is messed up. We adhere to the cult of science, and whatever science says we have to do, and science ain't even true. And I'm gonna just get that out the way. But anyway, chronic illnesses. If you have a chronic illness, I'm gonna use myself for example, and I'm gonna show you. All I can do is be a witness and share my testimony with you, and show and prove to you that it's true. Because anytime you do anything, us being on this earth, we're literally on trial. So when I was younger, I had this issue where the doctors still don't know how to explain it. They never have been able to, but I would get random stomach ulcers all the time. Sometimes it wouldn't even be a stomach ulcer, but I would feel pain as if it were a stomach ulcer. So my stomach was constantly just like burning. If I would breathe, it was like, to try to give you a visualization. Imagine you have a scar, right? You have a scar right here. I'm just gonna do this. Imagine you have a scar on my hand right here, and every time I would breathe, my stomach is going in and out, and it would be touching it. So every time I would breathe, it would touch this and would just burn. So it was hard for me to breathe. So I would just tense up constantly like this all the time. And over time, this kept happening. It led to other issues, because your body's a system. So just like I'm saying about these choices, how one choice affects everything, one part of your body will affect your whole body as well. So me constantly tensing up, got rock hard abs right now, but it don't matter. That was just a joke, my fault. But the thing, I'm trolling. Because I'm tensing up so much, my body is compensating in other ways, which means that some of my body is weak and it's not functioning the correct way. So now I have issues in other parts of my body. Now, where did this chronic illness come from? Part of it was genetic, I believe, because come to find out, this issue is also in my father and my father's father. And I'm sure you keep going up the line, they had it as well. Now, science would tell you, well, it's just genetic. You're cooked, bud. Just deal with it. They had me on medicine for 2 years, and they would just be like, hey, whenever it happens, just take this medicine. Although that medicine was causing more issues in my body. What are we doing? Why are you telling me to do something that's going to cause more issues? But that's besides the point. So then me having to get back to the truth and studying what's going on, how do we get to this point? Some of it, I do believe there are, like I said, it's genetic, where certain things that you do, certain things that your family does will stay in the family. If they don't deal with it, then it will pass on to your kids. But everybody does have the ability to, if you rely on the source, which is Yah. All right, this is Ezekiel 18:20. But the soul whose sins will die, but the son who will not receive the injustice of the father, or the father receive the injustice of the son. The righteousness that belongs to the righteous will be upon him, and the lawlessness that belongs to the lawless will be upon him. But if the lawless person returns from all his transgressions which he has done, and keeps all my commands, and does righteousness and mercy, he will live by life. He will certainly not die. All his transgressions that he did will not be remembered. He will live by righteousness which he has done. And it keeps going to pretty much say, if you do righteousness and then you turn to evil, all your righteousness will not be remembered. But you should get the point. Of course, which is Yah, to get it out of your system. So that's what I am attempting to do, and I believe that I have done, because I no longer have those issues anymore. Now, what did I have to do to get to that point? Going through the pain and going through the issue without relying on the escapism, which is the medicine, which is just going through the pain by myself with nothing. And I could not explain the pain to you, but I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. and it was constant. It just led me to do a lot of research. And in me doing a lot of research, just about every single disease is caused by inflammation. If you cut out the inflammation from your diet or from whatever you're doing in your life, whether that's stress, whether that's food, whether that's what you're watching, because when you strain your eyes or you watch TV or anything that causes inflammation over time will cause a disease in your body, because your body is not meant to be going through that. Your body is not meant to be inflamed all the time, and it's just going to cause a issue. So I had to, no matter how much I enjoyed what I was doing before, I have to come to the realization that this is real and I have to change. I have to do a lifestyle change. Now, after I did that, guess what? I'm good. Wow. Wow. Is that it was difficult. I'm not even finna sit up here and act like it wasn't difficult. This was over years and years and years of figuring this out, because everywhere that I was going, the food ain't getting no better. We still getting poisoned in our food. The water ain't getting no better. That's not getting any better. The health industry, that's not getting no better. It's getting much worse. Everything is getting worse. So how do I even come to terms with it when it seems like everything is getting harder? Well, Yahusha. I looked to Yah, and focusing on Yah literally healed me. So that's just a slight testimony. But I'm using that example because based on my actions, which was what I was eating back then, what I was doing was causing a bunch of inflammation in my life. And that was the judgment of my actions, is what naturally ended up happening afterwards. If I continued to try to escape from it, I would have caused more issues in my life and would have had even more health issues. But because I decided to deal with it, I'm healthier than I have ever been. Now, that's what you have to go through, and you have to practice doing that in many different scenarios in your life. You can't just one thing. You have to keep doing this. In the last video, I brought up Hebrews, I think it was chapter 5, verse 8, somewhere around there, where it says Yahusha learned obedience through suffering. In other words, submission, right? And that's what this is. You get to make whatever choices you would like to make in your life, but then after you make those choices, judgment comes. Now, people look at judgment like, oh, I ate a cheeseburger and now you're sending me to hell. No, there's rules. Things wouldn't hold together if there were not rules. So there's a natural law that when you do something, is going to come from what you did. There's never been in the world that or in society, in reality in general, where one action does not cause a reaction. That's never been a thing. So why do you think it's going to stop when it comes to you just because you have feelings? That's not how this works. Why does it say you learned obedience through suffering? Because your choices will submit you to the truth, and the truth is Yahusha himself, which is why even you see he suffered. But he points back to Yah, which is the creator of everything, right? Through Yahusha, which is truth, he created everything, right? All right, this is Colossians 1:15. Who Yahusha is the image of the invisible Yahuwah, firstborn of every creature, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. This is the unseen realm. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. He is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, in all things he might have preeminence. Without suffering, nobody would be in submission. So the opposite of pride is to be humble. So without you going through any sentencing, you will be very prideful. And being prideful will lead you to destruction. And I'm going to explain how real quick. In the last video, I brought up parenting and how when a child is going through something, you have to walk them through it, but you don't take them out of it. So I think even in the little video I put on there, there's a little girl who's trying to ski, right? Now it looks hard and you can tell the little girl is struggling through it. But what the parent does is help her struggle through it, right? Now, that keeps you in truth that, hey, even though things are hard, I'm right here with you. You'll be okay. Just keep trying. Even if you fall, look, I'm going to pick you back up and you just keep on going, right? That's what this is all about. Now, when you don't have that, let's say because that parent was in their feelings and they don't like seeing their child struggle, they pull them out. You're teaching your kid that when things get hard, you get to run away. You're teaching them to escape from anything that's hard. You're teaching them, and this is a little bit of a jump, but just follow me. You're teaching them instant gratification. When something doesn't work, you run away. Not only do you run away, but you do something that makes them feel good right in that moment. Now, you have something in you that is naturally prideful, and constantly going through things keeps that pride down. It keeps you humble. That's why it made Adam work. That's why it made the woman in submission to her husband in Genesis 3. And that's why she has to go through her cycle. That's why she has to go through painful childbirth. And that's why the serpent has to go through. But that's besides the point. I don't want to talk about the serpent because I don't know that. I don't even know what that is. I don't know who the serpent is. We can get into it, and I'm not saying that I don't know who it is, but it's a lot deeper than what you think. But we're not even about to get into that. But we're meant to go through suffering. That's the whole reason why we're here. One of the biggest issues is people become very prideful because they don't think they deserve what it is they're going through. When the fact of the matter is, you deserve everything that you're going through. It is your fault. Whatever you're going through, you had to go through this. People don't think that, and that's why they begin to be prideful and they get mad and they're, oh my gosh, why am I going through this? You made every decision that you chose to make. Nobody made you make the decisions that you made, and now you have to deal with what you're going through, but people just continue to try to run from them. And that's where we're at in society, right? And that's leading to something even so much greater, which is it's very hard to watch. And do you remember how I was talking about the enemy does the same thing that Yah does, which is he'll plant a seed and that seed is going to multiply. So this instant gratification thing has multiplied and turned people into ignorant and prideful people, right? And that's crazy. You can manipulate them to do whatever it is you want them to do because they're so ignorant and they're so prideful. Because you're ignorant. Let me put it to you like this. When you don't go through anything and everything is handed to you, you don't learn anything. I remember saying that revelation without fruit causes destruction, right? If you get the end message without going through the journey, that's going to breed destruction. Adam and Eve got the fruit, got the Garden of Eden without going through anything, bred destruction. So in society, what we're doing is we're giving people the ability to do great things without them having to go through any sort of journey to get there. And it's breeding prideful people, which is what happened to Adam and Eve. They got prideful and they got ignorant because they didn't know nothing. At the end, they thought they ate the fruit and they was going to learn everything. But whole time they ate the fruit. Now they don't know nothing. They have no covering, and they begin to make a selfish decision because they didn't think about how what they were doing was going to affect anybody. It was selfish, prideful, destruction. All right. So I'm gonna use phones. And phones allow us to do so much. Screens in general allow us to do things that in past societies would have taken them a long time to get to. However, those past societies had to do a whole lot of work to get whatever it is they had to do. So although they might not be able to get from point A to point B in 5.29 seconds, they're humble. So the type of person, the type of character that they probably had was much better than the type of character that we have now, because they're in submission. Maybe they wasn't in submission to the Most High, but I would tell you that they were submitting to something and they weren't as prideful back then. But nowadays, and I see this so much, that the phones allow you to, so I'm going to give you an example. We don't read anymore. Nobody really reads anything anymore. You just, instead of reading, and I'm going to actually, I got to cut this out. I'm gonna give you an example of the revelation without the fruit, or without going through the journey to get to the fruit, will breed destruction, or pretty much you're not gonna get what you were supposed to get. When I was in school, they would make you read a book, and then we would have to go to school that next day. Or like reading the book was a homework. They would be reading 2 or 3 chapters. You go to school the next day, and then the assignment is based off of what you're supposed to read. Now, I did not want to read that book, so what did I do? There was a website called Spark Notes. You go on Spark Notes. Spark Notes has a breakdown, a synopsis of everything that happened. So I would just go through that and then write down the answer and be like, I got an A. Yep, it is true that you got an A, but I didn't learn anything, and I didn't learn what I was supposed to learn. I didn't get the full picture because I didn't actually read. When you read, you have to learn reading comprehension, meaning what you're reading, you have to comprehend what it is you're reading. Because I can say, Sally ate an apple, but what does Sally ate an apple mean, right? Then after you get the reading comprehension, you have to learn critical thinking, right? Asking all the right questions. Well, what does this mean that Sally ate an apple? Why did she eat an apple? And this isn't real. This isn't your critical thinking. I'm just throwing stuff out there to get you to think. All right, this is 2024 numbers, but just look at this. 54% of adults have a literacy below a sixth grader. Oh, okay, right. 21% are illiterate. This is in 2024, right? And then when you look at what screens do to people, this is 2 years ago. Just know that these numbers are going to continue to rise. And think that these are the same people who might be your nurse, the person fixing your car, the person who's exchanging your money at the bank or at the store, or you're going to come in contact with more of these people than not these people. So just let that sink in for a little bit. If you understand what this means, you probably already understand what this means if you live life. But yep. This is what you learn when you practice reading. When you practice going through whatever it is you have to go through, you're going to learn something in the process of that, which is what we're here for. That's why we have to work, because we have to learn what we have to learn while going through what we have to go through. That's what each one of our sentencings while being here was tailored to purge out of us. Hopefully I said that correctly. That's why women have to go through what they have to go through. You're a woman for a reason. You have to do what you have to go through for a reason. You're a man for a reason. You have to do what you have to go through for that specific reason. This was not by no sort of accident. You didn't happen to wake up in this specific body. But the issue comes when people try to flip stuff and invert stuff and say, oh, well, nah, this is an accident. I'm accidentally in this body. Now, how do I know that? And actually, I'm going to make this statement. Critical thinking in this world is gone because nobody reads. We don't know how to read. Even in the church, most of the people have never read their Bible, or if they have read their Bible, they've only read a couple parts, the parts that sound good. Any of the stuff that they don't understand, they don't even decide to pick up because they're like, we don't really need that. We got this part, and this part tells me enough for what I need, so I'm good. You can't do that. You have to keep seeking full truth, because if you don't have the full truth, you have the ability to be deceived. This is 2017. Now I don't know how accurate this is because I don't know how they went about doing their survey, but you can look at this. You don't have to take it as truth, but you can go around like the world, right, and just ask people, how much of the Bible have you read, and see who's read their Bible, especially amongst the people who call themselves Christians. I haven't read the whole book because look, this is the majority, 30% highest, several passages and stories, 15%. So 40. This is already 45%. Oh, 58%. Nope. 68%. Nope. 80%. Oh, 80%. No. 20%. Yup. But a lot of people, man, never mind. When when you when you talk to people or you look at the trends and stuff that are going on, it's not necessarily a trend to read the Bible. I'm seeing more people have the Bible being read to them, or they got, instead of trying to read the Bible themselves, what they do is they get an AI and they ask the AI a question, and the AI is based on the Bible, but the AI don't have the spirit in it, and the spirit is supposed to guide you. So, um, it's like it's almost like you defeating the whole purpose. But um, this is just I'm just a man. I'm just talking. Not even, maybe I'm tripping. Just a man, guys. Just sharing my opinions, my testimony, what I think. Now, because of that, I keep saying we don't have any critical thinking skills. I work in the phone industry, and a lot of times I'm talking to people who act as if they have no idea how to use technology. But the fact of the matter is, technology is the easiest thing to use because it breaks everything down in slow motion in the lamest terms ever. It's not like we're asking you to be coders or anything like that, but to do the most basic thing, you can do it. And I'll give you an example. Most people come in and their issue is, I don't know my password. What do I do? Well, on the login screen, there's three boxes, or there's three selections. There's the username, there's the password. Sometimes there's not even that. And then there's the forgot password button. That's usually it. So if you didn't know your password, what do you think you have to do? I'm not even going to tell you because you should know that answer. We are so, and then when they don't understand something, when people don't understand the most very basic thing, if you just try to use your brain and go through the process of learning, they get very upset. People are ultra entitled and think, well, I like this, or I should have this. There's no way this is like this. And then they just start crashing out. What is going on? This is childish behavior. This is crazy. This is insane to watch this in real time happening. But when that happens, you have the ability to control and manipulate people because, like I said, if they're very prideful, all you have to do is make them feel good, and then you can kind of get them to do whatever it is you want them to do. That's a dangerous spot to be in, to say the least. But the main point of the video that I'm trying to talk about is pride, though. The instant gratification that we want, not being in submission, just breeds pride. Even in the new age ism, people who are spiritual, but they don't submit themselves to the Most High, it sounds good, but it's very prideful because you don't have to submit yourself to anything but your own will because you believe that you're God. It's shifting the power to not you, to not the creator of everything and not his will, but your own. It's like you're making yourself your own God, but using the principles in which Yah put on this earth to make yourself your own God. But you can't The fact of the matter is, you can't snap your finger and then create a universe. You can't speak and then create a universe. You can't do it. There's a difference between using something that's already here, manipulating that, and then making it what you want, and then creating a new reality, right? And thing is, the natural man does that. And when I say the natural, the man who is not spiritual, the natural man will change reality, like I said in the last video, distort reality to try to live in their own version of reality, right? So that they get what they want, they get the outcome of what they want, although it does not align with truth. And that dream world will never last very long. Eventually, you have to wake up from that dream world because it's just a dream. But the pride, if you have so much pride, you won't. But at the end of all things, you will fall, because it says that Yah will make every knee bow, right? Look, is Isaiah 45:23. I am swearing an oath according to myself. This is Yahuwah talking. Unless righteousness shall go forth from my mouth, my words shall not turn back, because every knee shall bend to me, and every tongue shall swear by Yahuwah, saying, righteousness and glory will come with him, and all who separate them will be shamed. All the seed of the sons of Yasharel will be vindicated by Yahuwah and will be glorified by Yahuwah. Let's take you to the New Testament. At the name of Yahusha, every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess Yahusha is Hamashiach, to the glory of Yahuwah the Father. So, Yahusha is in the Father's place on the earth, and it's saying the same thing, but just giving the title or giving the glory to him. And Yahusha always points to the Father. Even Yahusha's name is Yah saves. It was pointing to the Father. So if every knee is gonna bow, don't matter how prideful you are, what you think you're gonna do, he gonna make you tell. You gonna be like, oh dang, Yah was real, my fault. But the judgment's complete at that point. And I want to tell you why critical thinking is important, but people can't even recognize how bad this is bled into religion today. They just have become religious and they don't really even think. And I can tell, because there's no way you will be doing what you are doing, preaching what you're preaching, if you actually listen to the truth and read the word without personal biases or what somebody told you, without being humble and allowing the Spirit to show you things and not just taking man's word for what's going on. So I said earlier that everything that you're going through on this earth, you had to go through. You do deserve what you're going through. That's the hardest truth that you have to realize. You had to go through whatever it is you're going through. How are you going to deal with going through it? Now, Yahusha, when he was here, he showed you how to deal with persecution. He showed you how to deal with going through mess. He was literally the example, the blueprint. Why would Yah put you on a earth where you can be tested if the reason why you're here is not to be tested, right? You're on trial. That's the whole reason why you're here. This is a prison. The earth is a prison realm. Now, when you accept that fact, when Yahusha came down here and this was Yah's word was on trial. And what did Yah's word do? It went through. His word is the person of truth. So if you follow truth, you have to go through what it is he has to go through. He didn't say, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have to go through this. He submitted to what he had to go through, which was him dying, which was him going through persecution, which was him doing everything that he had to do. But the world in opposition tells you, hey, you shouldn't have to go through your period. You shouldn't have to go through childbirthing pains. Just don't get pregnant. We can put you on birth control. Oh, so what do you think that's going to cause? What do you think it's going to cause when women are not in submission to their husbands, in submission to the Most High? If you're in submission to the Most High, will lead you to be in submission to your husband if you're married. If you're not married, I'm not saying you got to walk around and be like, I'm just gonna do whatever a man says. I'm not saying that. I'm speaking specifically to wives. What do you think will happen? You're gonna have ultra prideful women. What do you think is gonna happen when there's men who don't really have to do nothing? They don't have to work for nothing, but then they get everything they want. You're gonna have ultra prideful men. And guess what do you think we got in the world right now? Ultra prideful men when you can't, and women when you can't tell them nothing. They just want to do whatever it is they want to do. They would just want to get money and have fun. And as long as they're doing that, they cool. You can't tell them nothing. Their decisions are their decisions, and their decision should not affect you because it's their decision. I never seen that before. When I look outside, if a bumblebee wake up and go, we just not gonna do our jobs today, what you think will happen to us? If a tree said, nah, I'm just not finna do this today, y'all good, what you think will happen to us? If the sun said, nah, I'm just not finna shine today, I'm just finna go to bed and chill, go smoke some weed, what you think will happen to us? So why do you think that your choices are not going to affect the next person? I don't know. Delusion. And this is the crux. This is the point of this video. When you're ultra prideful, you have now left reality and went to this delusion world, right? And in this delusion world, I don't know what's going on in the delusion world. I don't know what's going on. It says we'll give you over to strong delusion because you didn't love the truth. I don't know what's going on in your delusion world. I'm not going to try to take you out of your delusion world, but you're living in delusion world. And if that's the choice you want to make, that's the choice you want to make. But for the people who don't know they're in delusion world and want to get out, that's the people that I'm talking to. But once I bring to you, hey, you're in strong delusion, let's pray, and let's pray that Yah slowly allows you to come out of that. This is 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. For this and for this cause, Yah shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Not only that, but it says that he will give you over to your reprobate mind, which means you in strong delusion, right? You going through all these cycles and you keep ending up in a spot that you don't want to be in, but you still keep doing the same thing, or you do something much worse that makes the outcome much worse, but you still won't submit. This is Romans 1:28. And even as they did not like to retain Yah in their knowledge, Yah gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Delusion world all day. The virtual reality little headset thing. That's what many people are. Everybody's living in their own strong delusion. And then you got sects of people in society that have their own. Everybody got their own delusion world, and oh, I'm in that delusion world too, so I'm gonna go over here and join this delusion world. And that's why you got different groups of people. Like when you go online, all you got is people arguing over this, and you got this group, I'm a liberal, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a this, I'm a that. All you're saying is I'm in this delusion world. Nice. And then people will try to argue with you and talk to you about things because they think that you're living in their same delusion world. But I'm living in the truth, brother or sister. I'm not living in that delusion world. So when you talk to me, you're not going to get those responses that you might like. That's going to keep you in delusion world, because I don't support delusion. But if that's what you want to do, like I said in the very beginning, it's time to separate, because I don't live in delusion. In Hosea 14:10, I think I could switch over to it. All right. It is Hosea. Hosea 14:10. Who is clever and will understand these things, or intelligent and will recognize them? Because the ways of Yahweh are straightforward, and the righteous will walk in them, but the ungodly will fall by them. The thing, how to live your life is not really that hard unless you make it hard. It's very straightforward, and it's not that difficult to think through these things. So I'm gonna go back to the period thing. If a woman had a period, right? You're cleansing yourself. Your body is cleansing itself of something. That's why something's being released, right? So if you don't release it, whatever needs to be expelled from the body doesn't come out, then you're probably going to have issues in your body. And I won't even go into those because there's countless ones out there because of how far we are. And it's probably some sort of imbalance in the body. I can guarantee you that. There's an imbalance in hormones. There's an imbalance in whatever, right? Why? Because you're not letting the natural cycle flow. So then when you have other issues in your life or other health issues, people are like, oh my gosh, what's going on with me? How could this be? What's happening? Well, you're doing things that are not natural and then wanting things to work naturally. I don't understand that. That doesn't make much sense to me, but it seems like common sense to me. If you do the lawful things are natural, the unnatural things are unlawful. When you read the word will show you how far away you are from the natural things. So all you have to do is read the word and then get back to the Torah. Everything else is witnesses of people who practice Torah. That's the bottom line of the word. That's the whole bottom line. I think I made a video before and I said, what's my problem? The reason why I get frustrated is many people act as if other people aren't also going through the same thing that they're going through or something similar. Because guess what? We all got put on this planet. Or I shouldn't even say planet. We all got put in this realm, and this realm is a realm of judgment. We're on trial. So that means every single one of us is going through this. Even in the word, it says that when you go through suffering, understand that other people are going through this. And I'm paraphrasing. So count it all joy. And Yahusha being your blueprint, he did the same thing. And look what happened to him. So just go through what you got to go through. It's going to be lesser than what happened to him because he went through the worst of it. And now we got to go through the same thing. Count it all joy. The whole point. But from death comes life, right? So you don't have to really be scared of death. Does death suck? Does walking through that death door suck? I'm sure it does. I'm not going to sit here and be prideful and act like I walk through that death door every day. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be difficult, but I'm not here to worry about that because I know the Spirit's going to empower me to walk through that death door if I got to walk through that death door. And after that, hey, based off what Yahusha said, I'm going to be smooth. That's how I look at it. But the people who don't, they look at certain things or they act as if they're the only people going through things and they act like I shouldn't be going through this. I shouldn't be having to do this. This is, oh my gosh. Everybody has had the ability to reflect because everybody has the ability to make their own choices. Now, when you're a kid and you can't guard your heart, all right, you got to do the best you can while you're in the house, right? But as soon as you leave, as soon as you're not under your parents anymore, you get to make whatever choice it is you want to make. So you definitely can't use the victimizing mindset anymore because you made those choices. So you have the ability to reflect and come to the same conclusion of the actual truth rather than living in this world and just adopting the culture, adopting the mindset of this world. And when you see what the world produces, you know that it's sorry because every time you go outside, you're going to come across somebody who's doing some strange stuff. That's a product of the world. Just because you live in the world does not mean you have to be of the world. And if you find yourself being of the world, you're going to turn into that and you're going to be so prideful that you don't even see that this is you. And the last thing I'm going to say, because this is going to lead me into the next video because I'm going to get a little bit deeper on this. I play around a lot and I call people bots. But I know for a fact that this is interesting. I use CapCut and there's like a auto cutout filler option, which is why the video seems a little choppy. But even when I was filling this out or when I used it, when I tried to say bots, it cut out bots. The reason why you can't get out of your cycle is because you are an actual bot. I believe that's why Yah told us to be separate and to not mingle with certain people. Because no matter what, they're going to make their choice. They're a bot. What a bot is coded to do. You cannot break a bot out of its code. But people And you have the ability to make a choice. And I'm here to talk to those people. But there's bots, there's vessels of wrath, I believe, that's coded. No matter how much evidence you bring them, they're still going to choose to be a bot because that's all they can do because they're a bot. I'm going to bring up a movie, and I don't like bringing up movies because I don't want to discredit myself by bringing up a movie, but I'm going to bring up a movie anyway. They clone Tyrone. They made bots. They insert memories into the bots, and they throw them into the world to make them do whatever they have to do. They can't really break out of their coding because they're a bot. Most of the people don't even know that they're bots. The main character, I think, came to find out he was a bot because somebody saw him die, but then they just spawned a new version of him out there. I'm not telling you to go watch the movie, but I'm just bringing the movie up to tell you how it works. Some people are bots and don't even know they bots. Well, but these bots, guess what? They might be able to function like people, but they're not people. I had a conversation with, and this, I'll make a deeper video about this, but when the spirits get let into this world, they have to have bodies to inhabit. The spirits can't really do nothing. They still need something to interface with this world. That's what you need a body for. And you can't really make nothing happen with a horse because a horse doesn't have authority in this world. What has authority? Us. So it needs us. People are being bred so that they can be the perfect hosts for these spirits. Where it says, I believe it's somewhere in Revelations where it talks about the pit will be open and those spirits will come out. It says in Enoch that only 10% of the spirits are even roaming right now. We still need, where the other, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to try to bring up the scripture and put it on the screen and correct myself. But if I'm wrong, there's still another 90% that have to come out. And where are they going to go? They're priming you. I'm going to bring up this scenario. Let's say you marry a bot, right? But you don't know they're a bot. And then when these spirits get let out, these spirits can go into your bot partner. You better make sure that you're listening to Yah when you make your decision. Don't just be doing stuff. When you practice doing things, when you practice escaping from truth, when you practice not going through anything, your pride is very high. And in America, pride is the highest. That's why Donald Trump is the face of the country and people are mad about it. But that's every single one of us, just a giant version. And we're bound to fall. We're going to fall. We're about to fall. People want to run away from it. People are talking about, I talked to a young lady the other day. She said she was a police officer. And she was like, oh, I'll pick this job because they're going to get a pension. You're 30. You're not even, you're 25. You about to get a pension? You think we going to, for sure. I watched the video. This is the last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm about to go. And then the next time I see y'all, I'll probably talk about bots. But I watched the video. There was a guy, he's playing Fortnite. So pretend I have on my headset, right? While I got my headset on, I'm playing Fortnite and I'm playing against a little kid. So another little kid is on the mic and they're getting mad. I deleted them in Fortnite. And the kid is cussing like, oh my, what the, like he's swearing and stuff, right? So the dad comes in and starts and yells at the kid and goes, I heard you cussing, I told you not to cuss. And he starts whooping the kid, and the kid's, I wasn't cussing, I swear I wasn't cussing. He lying because you heard him cuss, but that's what look at Adam and Eve, right? You did something, so you try to lie, or you try to deflect, or you try to do something else, right? But that's besides the point. So then the dad starts whooping the kid, but guess what the dad is doing? The dad is cussing. How you gonna get mad at somebody for doing the same thing that you're doing, let alone a child and a parent? The kid don't even have the ability to guard himself because he don't know that yet. But you're instilling it in him, and then you're gonna be mad when he does it. That I don't understand what's going on. That's why you gotta practice what you preach. Do what you say you was gonna do. Practice what you preach, man. Practice what you preach. Don't just hear, be a doer. Don't be a hypocrite. Do not be a hypocrite, guys. Just don't be a hypocrite. You'll be fine. But man, sometimes I don't even think I be saying everything clearly, but hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Just the pride is so high in this world. we looking bad, man. Every day I wake up and I'm like, wow, what's going on, bro? But y'all, this is an insert, but I just want to expound on the point that everything that you see is very prideful. So when you go online and two people are comparing two and trying to make one better than the other, that's pride. When you think you're better than somebody else, that's pride. When you try to make a decision without thinking about the next person, that's pride. When you read the word and you don't agree with the word says, that's pride. Pride is you thinking you know best and you not thinking about nobody else. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yah. And the fear of Yah will tell you that you don't know anything. So if you don't know anything, you don't have anything better to do but agree with what Yah is saying, because Yah knows best. And because you don't agree with it at that point, so you're not going to follow whatever he's saying, that's pride. Because at that moment, for that specific issue, you're trying to say that you know better than Yah, but you didn't create this world. So that's pride. That's a lot of pride. For example, I talked to a young lady and she says, I'm not even going to say this specific young lady. I know a lot of people who they will talk about everything is good, but when it comes to two things, slavery, that was in the Bible, or I think same-sex marriage. Slavery is not the same slavery that we talk about when it comes to black people and white people, because I don't even believe in black and white. But you're a slave. If you read, there's a book called Capitalism and Slavery. It's comparing the two and showing how they're the same. I'm not going to say they're the same thing, but they're very similar. And the reason why they're doing it is very strategic. And it's showing you how similar capitalism is to slavery, where when people were coming over from England to, just going to say the new Americas, some people could not afford to travel over there. So what they did was they said, all right, I'm going to go over here. And because I'm going to work for you, I'm going to be a slave on purpose until I pay off the debt that it would have costed me to get over here. If you choose to go work at a company because you need to pay and you need to live, you're choosing to be a slave for that company. Now, the word will tell you, if you are a slave owner, to treat them the right way. And there's actually also a year of release. And there's also such thing as a bondservant that loves his master so much that they choose to stay. That's all people are doing when they choose to work for a company for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, because they love the slave owner that much, because the slave owner is taking care of them. When the company tells you, oh, I'm going to give you these benefits, I'm going to give you PTO, I'm going to do this, that's them trying to treat you in a way that they deem correct. And if you love them, you'll stay. That's what that is. Now, when it comes to the same-sex marriage thing, you can't even, I don't know if I've read it already, but in Hosea, I'm not even going to say that. The ways of Yah are self-explanatory. They're naturally going to produce fruit. That don't produce no fruit. So just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's okay. And just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean you should still walk in it. That's the same thing as you being in a marriage or in a relationship with somebody and they told you not to do something and you don't understand why it is that they said not to do it, but just know that it affects them. So then you keep doing it on purpose. I don't really care. I don't want to agree with that. So I'm going to just do what I want. You would be labeled a terrible partner. But to be honest with you, marriages and relationships in this country they're not rooted in Yah in the first place anyway. So that's why divorce rates are 50. Probably higher than that, because everybody that I know, most people I know, ain't nobody together no more. People just doing whatever they want to do, and they just want to use up their partner, and then once they done using up their partner for whatever they wanted, they on to the next person. But that was it. Listen, they might not like this one. Please. The natural man gon' change and rewrite history for sure. Just eliminate version of reality for sure. Justify their actions to fake families for sure.
Escaping from that monster accountability for sure. Mistaken comfort with security, oh for sure. That system bound to die, it's called entropy for sure. Refuse that wicked woman, that's your victim.